was pretty big in the baseball world for sports analysis, being a sports analyst, whatever. Journalism? I don't even know. Analysis. There we go.
Analysis was a good shot, though. Good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever time we caught you. Welcome back to the Underqualified Knuckleheads podcast. I am your co-host, Daniel Keene, joined alongside me today, again, your co-host, Andy Newman. Andy, how are you doing today?
You know what? I'm just going to say one thing about that intro. I love how it's the exact same every single time. It invites the viewers or listeners into the show, and I just feel like, we've really found our groove with that intro. I love it.
I totally don't remember how that came about, but then my dad was talking to me on the phone the other day, and he goes, I really love that intro.
Hey,
and
it's
I was
beautiful.
like, hey, we should keep it. I think in one of the episodes I mixed up the order, but that's okay.
You know what? If it's the same general thought and you're really feeling good and you're just saying the words and you're inviting the listeners
as long as we're happy and healthy on this podcast, and we hope you're happy and healthy listening to this podcast.
Wow.
We got a wonderful episode for you today. We got a few topics. We got the USFL, the NBA All-Star Weekend wrap-up, as well as a new segment we're going to test out today. But first and foremost, football is coming back to the spring.
Woo!
Woo!
One of my favorite things is football. Obviously one of the favorite thing in my life, sports-wise. And I'm all up for more football. I've been all in with all of these experimental leagues that have been kind of starting since 2019. We've got in 2019, it was the Alliance of American Football with the AAF. I was a big Birmingham Iron guy. Loved that team. They had Trent Richardson. I thought that was super funny. And then that league died after 6 weeks because they had no money.
A little bit that and a little bit Johnny Manziel was playing in the AAF, so it couldn't
That is
last.
also true. And then the next year, we had a actually much better league in the XFL, which was a take on the old XFL, which was essentially just WWE football, which was kind of neat. But this time, it was legitimate football. They had some great teams. I was a St. Louis Battlehawks guy. I always go for the city or the state that does not have a professional football team already. So I went for the St. Louis Battlehawks, and then obviously COVID hit, and that defunct them. But now they got The Rock.
And now they have The Rock.
Yeah, and The Rock and the XFL have a joint thing with the NFL now, so that might make the XFL stick around.
It's an agreement with the XFL and the NFL to make the XFL somewhat of a developmental league,
which is awesome.
So think the G League for the NBA. Basically, teams. I don't know exactly.
Not exactly the G League, because the G League and farm teams for the MLB directly feed into certain teams.
I think
this is just kind of.
They have no details released on it yet, but I think it could be something similar with the XFL and the NFL, where players might have a professional contract with the NFL, but they play with an XFL affiliate team. Maybe not. The USFL, we know, has no affiliation with the NFL as of yet. I think their big play-in right now is that they will be playing while the NFL is in off-season to get more viewers,
because if you obviously
you can't compete with the NFL.
Yeah. And then the last one of these little leagues that has kind of popped up recently was the FCF, the Fan Controlled Football League.
Oh yeah.
Also had Johnny Manziel and had Josh Gordon in there. It was kind of a fun thing. It was an arena football league where literally all of the teams switched their rosters after every week. It's very odd. Marshawn Lynch was an owner.
Yeah, it was fun to watch. It was a fun little thing.
Yeah, and I think they're still doing stuff with it.
They're still trying, but
and I was super big into that too.
Honestly, we often underestimate how dominant the NFL is in terms of not only football organizations, but sporting organizations in general.
Oh no, the NFL has really, a monopoly.
They have a monopoly, and I think the XFL is doing a pretty smart thing right now in getting in cahoots with the NFL so that they're protected in some way, shape, or form.
But the big league that's coming back this year is the second iteration of the USFL. And if for anyone who's listening is a little bit older, maybe our parents, grandparents, the USFL was a big thing back in the 90s, as my microphone detracts. And two of like a big names, if you remember, actually went to the USFL before they went to the NFL, in Jim Kelly and Steve Young.
Yep. Both of those guys were big. I think 1982 was the first. Was when they began their first iteration of the league, and it actually folded just a couple years later. But it had some pretty good aspects. I mean, there was nothing different from the NFL.
Yeah, it was big in the 90s. That's all I know because
it was a big thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously it kind of ran its course when Donald Trump took over the whole thing, and he kind of ran it into the ground because he tried to. So what the original plan of the USFL was not to directly rival the NFL. They were poaching some of their players, sure. It was far bigger. And then he tried to put it at the exact same time as the NFL and went completely defunct.
Yeah, I think the last team that was able to actually rival the NFL was the AFL, which
in the
merged
70s.
with the NFL. So maybe we'll get a third no, I'm kidding.
Yeah, no, but
no third conference in the NFL.
So the USFL, with the moderate, not really success of the startup leagues that have been in the past couple of years, but I think there's a real market there. It's just there's been some crazy stuff that has happened. So the USFL is trying up again, and they have 8 teams split into 2 divisions. The North Division has the Michigan Panthers, which is your team.
Go Michigan!
The New Jersey Generals, the Philadelphia Stars, and the Pittsburgh Maulers. And then the Southern Division or South Division has my Birmingham Stallions, the Houston Gamblers, the New Orleans Breakers, and the Tampa Bay Bandits.
I will say I was a little upset when there was a new league forming and none of my Indiana friends wanted to join fandom in the Michigan Panthers with me.
Nah,
but
sorry.
I do respect kind of how you support your teams in these breakout leagues.
Exactly. I will 100% always support the area that is not accustomed to having.
Yeah.
And all of
I
these,
like that.
basically all, other than New Jersey, but New Jersey really is kind of just the Giants and the Jets.
There's enough teams in New Jersey.
Well, they literally play in New Jersey.
They play in New Jersey.
Yeah, so I consider New Jersey right in with New York, so I don't really consider that at all. Birmingham, I guess, has Alabama, so I mean,
Alabama football.
Alabama is essentially a professional football team, is it not? So I mean, but in comparison to everyone else, literally there's a team in every single one of these cities or states. So I just went with Birmingham and the Stallions. Stallions. Horses, Colts, ooh.
For those, earlier I was going to mention it when Andy said he loves football. For those of you watching on our live stream, you can check it out on our Instagram. Andy is wearing a Colts hat, a Colts shirt, and blue-themed Colts shoes.
And Colts socks.
And Colts socks. So.
And a Colts undershirt. And a Colts sweatshirt.
Okay.
Yes. Don't have the Colts pants on today. Sorry. I wore those the other day.
When you started undershirt, I thought you were going to say Colts underwear, and then I was
I do own a couple pairs. They are not on today. Thank you for bringing that one up. But anyway, so going back to the USFL, so all of their games will be being played in Birmingham, Alabama. So every single game, which I think might be kind of a good idea. It cuts down on expense. Like traveling expenses and hotels and everything. You got all your games played in the exact same location, so you got like your film crew or whatever stays in the exact same area. If you have a game right after another game, it's just the same crew.
I think logistically that is a wonderful idea.
Yeah, especially for the first year.
Yeah.
And I think obviously they'll probably branch out if it's successful into next season where they're kind of going into these different locations and actually playing there. But I think as of right now, probably a great logistical plan. And then the draft was this week, and some notable names to come out of the draft. The first overall pick for the Michigan Panthers, the first overall pick of the draft was quarterback Shea Patterson, who is a Michigan quarterback from Michigan University.
Yeah. I'm pretty excited about this whole Michigan Panthers thing. Not only do we have another sports team to support in Michigan, this team looks like it could actually win something.
Yeah.
Jeff Fisher is the head coach.
Yeah, that's another notable name that the USFL has.
Do not forget, Jeff Fisher was like a yard away from winning a Super Bowl. He's got the talent. I know he kind of flamed out in the NFL after a little bit, but I like this idea. Shea Patterson, I watched him play at Michigan. Not an amazing quarterback. He did not really do a whole lot in the NFL. I think he made a couple practice squads, but I think he could have potential.
Yeah, he was on the Chiefs for a little bit. He went undrafted, but he got signed by the Chiefs.
Yes.
But I don't think he made it throughout the whole season.
Yeah, the Panthers also in the late round drafted Paxton Lynch, who was
I know that name.
Drafted by the Broncos in the first round. Huge bust of a quarterback, but I like that. I like how they have one guy who's unproven in pro football and one guy who definitely torched his career in pro football, but he still has those pro football qualities.
Yeah, and then another name that kind of struck me as obviously somebody that's been around these startup leagues, Jordan Ta'amu, who probably isn't a household name for many people. He was the starting quarterback for the St. Louis Battlehawks back in the XFL, and he's been in and out of NFL rosters and on teams and every once in a while. But he most famously in the XFL started over current Washington Commanders quarterback Taylor Heineke, which is kind of crazy. And it's crazy how a backup that shows you, if anything, that these leagues can actually go somewhere. Because if you have a quarterback that is a backup on one of these leagues actually end up starting in the NFL and has not a horrible stint for the past 2 years, I mean, it shows you the potential that some of these players in these leagues have and the need for this developmental kind of league.
I love, overall, I love the idea of developmental games. And we are going to be very excited for the USFL. First game is played on April 16th, and it will be simulcast, which is
crazy because that's never happened since Super Bowl I in the 70s.
This is big. I think it's less. Well, it is big, but I think it's less about it being big, but it being so small that multiple organizations can carry it.
I know,
but plenty of viewing options on Fox and NBC.
Yeah, so it'll be on both the main Fox channel and the main NBC channel. Obviously, as games kind of progress and it's not the first week, it'll kind of start. Though some will be on NBC, some will be on the main Fox, but then it'll probably get into NBCSN and then Fox One or FX1, whatever.
I don't know. Either way, very excited for it. This is something that I'm looking forward to in the sporting world. Something I wasn't looking forward to in the sporting world, just based on its past history, was the NBA All-Star Weekend.
Yep. Great transition to the next topic, Dan.
Thank you. Podcasting galore here. But I don't know. I never was a huge fan of the Pro Bowl, the All-Star Weekend, the All-Star Game for the MLB. I just never felt like it was truly a competition of great players.
Well, no. So what I would say, though, I do enjoy I enjoy the thought behind it. How about that? I really like all of the stars being able to come together and play one game. And I think, at least for baseball and for the NBA, you can actually have at least somewhat of a similar game to a real competition.
Well,
obviously the Pro Bowl, not
the Pro Bowl, no, because they basically play two-hand touch.
Correct.
Which is not great.
It didn't used to be like that. Ask Sean Taylor. But whatever. No, the NBA, they don't play defense in the All-Star game. That's just not a thing they do.
I think,
which is kind of
I just don't like it's.
I wish they did.
Not fun to watch. I liked. We talked about this during the Pro Bowl for the NFL. I would do the same for the NBA. I'd do the same for the MLB. But they should put something on the line that is worth winning.
Yeah, so the NBA does this where they if you win each quarter, the team that wins they break it up into quarters. And then the score of those quarters goes towards their final score of the game. But depending on who wins each quarter, you get $100,000 goes to a charity of your choice.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Which I like. And the NFL does incentives, but they're $40,000 or whatever, and they're it's chump
And also,
change.
They don't really emphasize the fact
not chump change for me, by the way, but
definitely not chump change for me. Along with the All-Star game, we get the All-Star challenges, 3-point contest, which was pretty meh. The dunk.
The 3-point contest wasn't bad. You got to give it out to Karl Anthony Towns, the first center to ever win the 3-point contest.
Yeah,
good for him.
I mean,
good for seriously.
Good, that's very good for him. Yes, I'm not discrediting his achievements.
No.
I'm just saying a lot of people don't sign up for the 3-point contest anymore.
That's true. It used to definitely back in the Larry Bird days. It was
used to
coveted.
Be huge. Larry Bird wanted it every single year.
I remember seeing footage, or obviously very famous footage of him winning the whole thing with the starting jacket still on. Larry Bird, legendary trash talker.
Okay, yeah. So the 3-point was good. I always like it, but like I said, I think the competition has gone downhill.
Yeah.
When I think of like how a player and his agent talk about the All-Star game or the All-Star challenge, it's like, hey, you want to do this? And the player goes,
no.
Why not? You know, like, sure.
So, but if you're bigger name, no, which is why we never saw Russell Westbrook do it, why we'll never see John Morant do it, why we'll never see Zion Williamson do it, probably because Zion will probably never play basketball again.
That is up for debate. But even worse than the 3-point contest, the dunk contest was just...
It was really bad.
Ugh.
It was so bad.
It was so bad.
Like, literally, it was a dunk attempt contest. There were no dunks really being made, and if the dunks that were made were kind of lackluster.
They were easy.
I don't really know.
Okay, wow, yeah. wait. I just said the dunks were easy as a man who cannot dunk.
No, yeah, no.
But
I understand it from the perspective of a professional,
of somebody
who
can dunk.
Yeah, I don't really know if it's on the people who are in the dunk contest. More of the just like we've seen a lot of stuff. Yeah. Like I really don't.
It's really hard it's hard to reinvent a dunk.
Yeah, I don't know what do you do? Like what do you do to fix it? Like
after Vinsanity, I don't think you can really reinvent it anymore.
There's not a whole lot to go. Like I think we've reached the point where it's kind of just everything's been exhausted.
Yeah,
you know.
And I mentioned this with the all pro game for the NFL.
Yeah.
But like the skills contest, super fun. Why don't you just make that the whole weekend?
No,
whichever team
and the
wins
skills contest this year for the NFL was so bad.
It was bad, but it was still better than the game.
I wish
I still would have watched the skill contest over the last. I would have watched this year's skill contest over the last 3 Pro Bowl games.
Yeah,
even if it was bad
and
this year.
No, it was. I really don't even know. Like our All-Star, they're good. All-Star games are cool in theory. I like the idea. I like all the stars coming together, playing their respective sport. But when the playing of that respective sport is really not like anything to be, it's not even really the sport anymore. It's just like kind of a walkthrough, a glorified walkthrough. Then it really
just becomes a little bit less, less of an attraction.
I don't know how you do it in a way that would make actual competition happen.
Yeah.
Like why would any of the players play that alliance?
It used to be like all of the players showed up and it was like this huge thing and people got dressed up for it and it was a big thing. And now it just feels a little fizzled out.
People would actually go and like at least the Pro Bowl, like back in the day, people would go to the Pro Bowl. Peyton Manning would go, Tom Brady would go, these stars would go. Now it's just like like some are there, sure. None of them are trying.
I like how much coverage they have on like the sidelines and of the bench players. Yeah. Like the NBA All-Star game, they had a lot of going on with the players who were in attendance and the players who were on the bench. Yeah. I like that because you get a little bit more content. You get a little bit more of an insight.
And obviously the big point of that weekend with all the stars there was the 75th anniversary team. So obviously you got a lot more people that were there.
We could definitely spend an entire episode talking about the flaws in that 75th anniversary team.
You think there was some? I think there were some. People aren't a fan of Damian Lillard being on there.
We will put it on the docket for next week's episode, but there were a couple things that I did not like about that list.
You know what I did like though, and definitely going off of All-Star Weekend, is the last person that got announced was Michael Jordan, and he walked right to the middle because he knew exactly where he was supposed to be because he's the greatest of all time. He knew exactly what was going on, where he was supposed to go. He did not care. I'm the best ever. I know it. I'm walking to the middle.
He could have walked. He walked to the middle with his eyes closed. If he could shoot a free throw with his eyes closed.
Love Mike.
Something I thought was funny. Did you see the whole buzz around Jared Allen's outfit?
No.
So Jared Allen didn't make the All-Star game. He showed. He had a hoodie on. He showed up in a hoodie and like probably just pants, like pair of not khakis, but like a pair of joggers and a pair of tennis shoes. Yeah. Probably a nice pair of tennis shoes. And social media roasted this man. So look what he's wearing. I'll show you the picture right now. He's got like a nice hoodie on.
Yeah, it's just like a normal.
It's nothing crazy, but it's a normal
like something
outfit.
That like my brother would wear to high school.
Yeah, and people like blew him up. And like, what do you want to do? Like wear a suit to an NBA game?
Yeah, that's what most people would wear.
I wouldn't. No, just wear whatever you want. He makes more money than half of the people I know all of the
All
people.
the
He makes
people
more
that you
money
know,
than all of the
probably,
people I know. And
I would assume.
He said in media day for something. He said it's funny because I thought it was okay. What am I supposed to do? Wear a $5,000 chain to the game? That's just a casual outfit, and that's what I felt comfortable in. And I love that quote. I love that response.
Good for him.
But I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of not controversy, but contradictions with the All-Star game because they want it to be such a big thing. But also, you have players not really playing, not really trying.
Yeah, I don't know. It's good in theory, doesn't really work out.
Doesn't always work out.
Actual execution.
Yeah,
which is super disappointing.
Yeah.
And then so that brings us to our new segment that you really want to try and do. This is Dan's idea. I like it. I thought it was cool. Dan, you want to introduce it? Talk about it?
So usually Andy and I agree upon everything.
That is
not
true.
Everything, but on this podcast,
not everything. Things.
Most things.
Yeah.
But on this podcast, we have been usually on the same terms in agreeing with specific situations. So this segment, our new segment, is going to be called This or That, where we have 3 questions to round out our show.
Yeah.
And they're questions that Andy and I already disagree on. We're going to spend a couple minutes talking about why we might disagree and see if we can figure out if this or that is the right answer.
And they're relevant to what's going on right now. They're not just completely random things. Maybe one week we'll throw in why Peyton Manning is the greatest regular season quarterback of all time, which he is.
Really?
Yeah. We'll leave that for next week. But yeah, no. Okay, so our first one that I thought of is Matthew Stafford a Hall of Fame quarterback right now? This whole topic kind of got brought up with Richard Sherman. He's calling Matthew Stafford a milquetoast quarterback. Not great, and he's just kind of meh. He's been okay every year. He's been good. I would say he's been good. But now that he wins one Super Bowl, he's automatically bound for the Hall of Fame. Dan, your thoughts? Obviously, I know what you're going to say.
Matthew Stafford, winning a Super Bowl only continues to cement the fact that he is a Hall of Famer. Listen to these career stats.
Okay.
323 touchdowns. We're not going to talk about interceptions. Almost 49,000 passing yards. He is about 5 yards away from 50,000 passing yards. His first season with a good team, with a team built around him, a team that can complement him, he wins the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Now, I'm not saying he should retire right now and he's a full first ballot Hall of Famer, but he was AP Comeback Player of the Year. He's a Pro Bowler. He's a Super Bowl champ. If he plays another couple years, stat pads a little more, maybe wins another ring, he is guaranteed a Hall of Famer. Right now, if he retired tomorrow, I would say there is still a decent shout that Matthew Stafford should be in the Hall of Fame.
Okay. I understand your point. I think Matthew Stafford is a good quarterback. I think he's been very solid throughout his time in the NFL. But I cannot picture him in the Hall of Fame right now. If you're retired right now, I cannot see it. I mean, they're great. Stats are good. He hadn't won a single playoff game until this year. A single one.
You know who he was playing with, though.
I get it. I get it.
If you put Peyton Manning on the New York Jets last season,
Peyton would still
he
be
would
okay.
not have won with that team.
I don't think he would win, but I think he would possibly be all right.
I would be sure.
If he was there for 13 years, I'm sure he would figure something out.
No, if Peyton Manning was on a team like the Lions, like the Jets, like the 0-16 Browns, he would not be able to win.
But here's the thing. The 0-16 Browns didn't have one of the greatest wide receivers of all time.
Yeah. So are you lessening Peyton Manning's achievements right now?
No, I'm not lessening. Peyton Manning is not the topic of conversation. It is Matthew Stafford. And I'm just saying that Matthew Stafford, I think my problem is that there are so many people that are just getting allowed to be in the Hall of Fame now. I feel like the achievement has almost started to get watered down.
I would agree, but if we're going based on who is in the Hall of Fame right now, who has been in the Hall of Fame, Matthew Stafford, I could probably pick out a dozen players who Matthew Stafford is better than who are currently in the Hall of Fame.
Okay, but when you really think about it, though, is every single quarterback from the 2010s was so good that every single one deserves to be in the Hall of Fame? It is. I feel like it is. If you are above average at playing quarterback and you win a Super Bowl now, you are automatically a lock for
not Matthew Stafford. Matt Ryan does not deserve to be in the Hall of Fame.
he has an MVP.
Yeah.
He has an MVP.
He blew the biggest lead in Super Bowl history.
He was
outside of that.
I don't know if it was his fault.
Outside of that one MVP year that he went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
nothing too crazy. He had Julio Jones.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's relatively similar to Matthew Stafford. I think Matthew has a team win without an MVP in the Super Bowl, and he has an actual individual achievement. I think both are very close. I don't really think either of them deserves to be in. I don't know. I really feel and wish that the the Pro Football Hall of Fame was a little bit harder to get into. Like, you didn't bring in 8 dudes that nobody knows about every single year, you know? Like, they might be really good, but like, you need to be in the upper echelon of upper echelon to get in the Hall of Fame. And now we're already into the 300s of people.
That's fair. I would back that up. But my opinion has not changed. Matthew Stafford should be a Hall of Famer when he retires.
I just wish there was like another ring of the Hall of Fame, where like the dudes that were like miles ahead of people that are also in the Hall of Fame.
Great, not Hall of Fame, Hall of Great.
Yeah, no, like you would throw your Tom Brady in there, you throw your Peyton Manning in there, you would throw your Lawrence Taylor in there, you throw your Joe Montana.
Yeah. You're saying. Okay, I thought you meant like not quite Hall of Fame level. You're saying something above the Hall of Fame.
I'm saying above the Hall of Fame.
Like,
yes,
not the Mount Rushmore, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Like a ring of people that are just miles ahead of the people that are also in the Hall of Fame. That like Lawrence Taylor again, like I had said, Manning, Brady, Montana, Jerry Rice. Those are guys that need to be...
Maybe.
I don't know. I feel like they should be honored a little bit more than guys that have had okay years and careers. Like,
we're not going to have like an all-pro Hall of Fame. Like,
I wish we did.
It's a little bit of a dumb idea, but I understand why it's a good idea.
Yeah, I understand it. I just wish... Because now in career and Hall of Fame and acknowledgement, Warren Moon is on the exact same level as Peyton Manning, and just like, you got in the Hall of Fame, you can't do any better than that. Mm-hmm. So that Matthew Stafford would be on the same level as Tom Brady, you know?
Yeah, I can ride with what you're saying, but my opinion has not changed, and we're still good friends, right, Andy?
Yeah, and and again, also, I would probably say that Eli Manning deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, probably.
100%.
Purely just for beating Tom Brady in the Super Bowl twice, which is an achievement in itself. And he had fantastic years, but then the rest of it, he ended with a 500 career win percentage, 500 level.
I don't know. Well, Matthew Stafford's not going to have a great win percentage either, but...
No, it's crazy.
Yeah. Moving on to our second topic of discussion, well, yes or no, this or that.
Yeah.
Juwan Howard got suspended for the remainder of... Juwan Howard, Michigan head coach
let's give
basketball,
a little...
was involved in a post-game altercation with the Wisconsin head coach where he went over and argued and then struck the Wisconsin coach in the face, sparking a little bit of a mini brawl. Not a Malice at the Palace, but
now we're close to that.
Definitely a little brawl between the teams, and Juwan Howard was suspended for the remainder of Michigan's regular season. That regular season is only 5 games, but
not a whole long.
The real question here is Juwan Howard sending the right message to the Michigan basketball program with what he did?
I think no, very obviously, but yes in a sense. I think no, you cannot have your head coach, the guy that is leading your program, punching dudes in the face. There is a difference with athletic competition. I can understand there being a boil up of just like pure adrenaline and being angry with each other, which is brought out in athletics.
No, I can't at all.
I don't know.
That is a bond. I'm not saying it's a fireable offense, but I don't think in any way, shape, or form what you did in that game is benefiting your team's morale.
No. Okay, so what I was going to say, athletes, I can understand getting into fights. Hockey happens all the time. Football happens every once in a while. Basketball, Malice at the Palace, obviously that was kind of crazy. But if you're a coach, if you're in that position, you cannot. So I think we agree on that.
Did we just agree? The point was to disagree.
I think we agree on that stance. But I think
I would still back it though.
Yeah, no.
I mean, in a way, as a player, I've seen my coaches. I've never seen any of my coaches in my athletic lifetime do any sort of fighting, but I've had coaches yell. I've had coaches get in the referee's face.
Sure.
I've had coaches get in the other coach's face. And that tells me as a player, this guy's there for me. Once you see your coach strike
Physically,
another guy,
yeah.
I feel like then you go, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah, no,
like,
I think
wait.
It compromises the whole point of what he's supposed to be.
It goes from, I got your back to, I'm doing whatever the hell I want to do.
Yeah, well, now, the one thing that I can kind of understand, I think he may be sending a kind of a right message to his players where he will stick up for them. I think
Not
that
even that. I feel like you lose respect once you do something like that.
I get it, but I feel
There's
like
our
if
line.
I'm
There's our line.
Yeah, if I'm a player, I feel like it's a little bit of both. Like it would compromise my feelings towards him as a professional, but as a human being, as a person to person, I know that guy has my back because he's actually willing to do something about it. Just did not do it in the right way whatsoever.
Okay, that may be where we disagree, but I believe Howard will come back if they make them then.
According to our sports director Joey Moore, he is not a fan of Howard coming back at all. He's had a lot of success, but Joey feels like this is just completely undermined. Joey's a big Michigan Wolverines fan.
Yeah.
Completely undermined his entire reputation,
you lose,
what he stands for, what he does. So
I mean, coaches have done worse things to their reputation. In 100% they have. But
Urban Meyer.
This is still not great.
No, it's Urban did a little bit different, but it had the same effect.
Our final this or that: will the NBA
MLB?
Oh, what did I say?
You said the NBA.
Ooh, that is on me. Will the MLB play a full season, or will there be some sort of delay or some sort of hiccup? Andy, what's your thoughts?
So I've been watching a lot of Pat McAfee show. I think we're going to bring up Tom Brady and Pat McAfee and your weird intro and me saying have a nice week or whatever.
See you next week.
Yeah, see you next week. There it is. In every single show now.
Carving out staples.
Yes.
Just
we're
like
doing
a good
it.
podcast does.
Woo! Anyway, so I've been listening to a lot of Pat McAfee show, and he brings on his baseball guy, Jeff Passan, who is pretty big in the baseball world for sports analysis, being a sports analyst, whatever. Journalism? I don't even know. Analysis. There we go.
Analysis was a good shot, though. You know,
it was a word that was in my head. Anyway, so he's a big sports, big guy in that world, and he thinks that it's actually going to be pushed. We're not going to get a spring training, and will not actually play the full 126 games. It will not get done.
I don't know. I think they will. This happened the last time we had an NBA lockout. Everyone was like, "Oh, we're gonna not have a season. We're gonna have a shortened season, something like that." They always sort it out.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. But I feel like Jeff has a pretty good knowledge of what's going on in baseball, and he feels like this time might be a little bit bigger and more of an issue than we've had in the past. So
maybe.
So we'll see. Honestly, would totally be okay if they had less games in the year.
Yeah, we talked about that last week.
Again, yeah, we talked about.
Yeah.
No problem.
I'd be okay
Make
with
it shorter.
I'd be okay with a 50-game season.
Yeah.
Not bad.
So, but you think it'll get it figured out?
I think it won't get too down to the wire, but it'll get about a month away from.
Yeah.
I think spring training might be interrupted a little.
Yeah, I think.
They're gonna get.
It already has. It already will be.
Well, I meant. Yeah. I think they'll get about a month away from opening day, maybe month and a half away from opening day, and they'll get in a room.
Somebody will fold,
and they'll sort it out.
They'll get it done. Which is generally what happens. But who knows? I think hopefully, and not hopefully, maybe hopefully, I'm sure maybe they'll get something figured out. But I think they might not. It might not. So. And then that might be the only thing left on the little outline that we do every week for our podcast. But I want to talk about one thing before we go. This is the week. I'm getting prepared. I'm getting excited. I'm going on Tuesday. It's not sports related, but we like it. I like it so much.
I'm just going
to talk about it right now. The Batman is coming out this week to theaters. I'm going 2 days, 3 days actually, before it releases officially. I'm going with my dad and my friend Cole. Cole, if you're listening right now, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. I'm so excited. But the Batman is coming out. What are your thoughts on it? Are you excited for it?
I don't know. I was never a huge DC guy. I sit next to Andy in a few classes, and I always notice Andy doodles at least 10 different Batman symbols.
Oh, that's what I do when I get bored. I draw like Flash and Batman on the side of my notebook paper.
Guy loves his Batman. I'll watch it. I'll probably wait a couple days. I'll see what you think of Batman, and then I'll watch it. I am interested to see Robert Pattinson as the Batman, though.
Yeah, no, I think you'll do a great job. I'm very excited to see what Matt Reeves, how his direction goes. I think he's got an airtight script. He's been working on it for like 4 years or so now. And I think it's very interesting to see what they're doing. They're kind of making the Riddler a serial, like, Zodiac killer kind of guy. And then I'm not a huge fan of Catwoman and Penguin, but we'll see how his interpretations of those characters go. I think it'll be a cool noir detective kind of story, and I'm very excited to see, and I'm going to see it in IMAX with a full packed theater. So it should be fun.
I am so happy for you. I see joy, and I'm joyous for you, Andy. That's all we have today. I think we mixed it up a little, brought a little Batman in.
Yeah.
I like this or that. Maybe maybe in the future we'll have a little bit more serious stuff, like the Colts won't win a Super Bowl for the next 10 years.
Oh my God!
I think that's a great one
Please
to talk about.
Yeah, and then obviously next week I will also get into my review of the Batman. So
we'll do a 30-second summary of the Batman, because we are a sports podcast, but I like a little mixture in there.
Yeah. Go see the Batman.
Go see the Batman.
And watch sports.
All right, thank you so much for joining us. Make sure you follow us on our socials. We are Knucklehead Sport Pod on Instagram. We also put our live up every Friday when we record. If you want to catch a little bit of the early
you want to see
stuff.
me actually like moving my hands.
Yeah,
and
if you want to
talking
see
on
Andy's
screen.
full Colts uniform for every day.
Sometimes I have DC stuff on too.
I
had a reverse flash
you get
shot
the DC
of a shirt
stuff.
that one time. Yeah. So.
All right. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us, and you guys have a wonderful week until we see you again.
See you next week. I remembered it.